Ave, and welcome to Backlisted, the podcast which gives new life to old books. The book featured on today's show is La Zizanie by René Goscinny and Albert Uderzo, first published in issues 531 to 552 of Pilote magazine in 1970. It was translated into English by Anthea and Derek Hockridge and published in the UK by the Brockhampton Press in 1972 as Asterix and the Roman Agent. The book's first appearance in American English was as part of Asterix Omnibus Volume 5 in a translation by Joe Johnson, and that was published in 2021 by Papercuts in the US. Did you know that?
I did. Yeah.
That's why you're here.
Yes, it is why I'm here.
I'm Andy Miller, author of The Year of Reading Dangerously and Inventory, an unreliable guide to my record collection.
I'm Una McCormack's award-winning scribe and associate fellow of Homerton College, Cambridge, and through the glass over there, mustachioed for the occasion, is Nikki Birch, the producer and editor of Backlisted.
1, 2, 3, everybody.
Merry
Christmas! Una McCormack's, did you say?
I did say Una McCormack's, yeah.
Very good.
You wrote it, Andy.
I know. That's why I felt it deserved a second outing. You sort of swallowed it. Now, joining us for today's show to discuss Asterix and the Roman Agent, German title Streit Asterix, i.e. the Asterix Quarrel, are two guests making their first appearances on Backlisted. Please welcome Louie Stowell.
Hello.
And Robert Shearman.
Hello.
Hey. Louie Stowell started her career writing carefully researched books about space, ancient Egypt, politics and science, but eventually pivoted to just making stuff up. She's written fiction for ages 8 to 12 with Nosy Crow and Walker Books US, but the #1 best-selling Loki, A Bad God's Guide to Being Good series is Louie's first project as both author and illustrator, inspired by her research into Norse myths. Louie writes full-time in London, where she lives with her wife Karen and a creepy puppet that is probably cursed. Louie, the Loki books are wonderful. They are very much loved in our household. How long does it take you to research, write and illustrate them?
Gosh, well, research I've been doing since I was a child, so 35 years odd. But I probably each one takes a year to write from the beginning of I've got a plan to I finished all the art and all the edits and, back and forth and back and forth.
And how does the feedback work from kids? Does that feed into what you do or the direction you take them?
So sometimes kids make requests and sometimes those requests are a simple no. Sometimes they ask for things and I think that's a really good idea. So I won't actually tell you the idea because it's a spoiler now, but a kid asked a question about one of the characters quite early on when I was doing the tour for the second book, maybe, and I'm going to use that idea because it was a really interesting question. I think it's not that it's not generally specific ideas from kids that I'm likely to use. It's more the energy they bring to it and a reminder of what they're excited about and that they are actually quite sophisticated while also liking the fart jokes.
Absolutely. Who does not like a fart joke?
Losers.
Losers. Louie, this is all very well, but what of Robert Shearman listeners will be thinking? Whither he? Backlisted fans may recall that Robert is the author of We All Hear Stories in the Dark, the fabulous and labyrinthine collection of short stories in 3 volumes that we raved about on the Beowulf episode. These would have been good for that, wouldn't they, these Mr. Whatever. These would have been good for that. On the Beowulf episode back in 2020. Well, after some tense negotiations, 5 years later, he's here. Robert, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Robert began his career in the theatre. He was a regular writer for Alan Ayckbourn at the Stephen Joseph Theatre in Scarborough. His plays have won the Sunday Times Playwriting Award, the World Drama Trust Award, and the Guinness Award for Ingenuity. I thought you'd won the Ingenious Award for Guinness.
Yeah.
But
No, that's right.
Okay.
Actually, an awful lot of press stuff holding an enormous glass of Guinness.
Did they
I don't drink.
Did they? Oh, they didn't let you drink any of it. So
No.
you didn't want to drink it.
I didn't want to. I just don't like Guinness.
Robert's latest play, an adaptation. I can't believe. I mean, the thing is, Robert was just telling us about this before we came on. Robert has just come back from Gothenburg.
Yeah.
where his latest play, an adaptation of Pride and Prejudice in Swedish, has just opened at the Stadsteater. Robert, what is the title of Pride and Prejudice in this new production?
Well, I mean, I can't pronounce it because I kept on being told by everybody that I was trying to make it sound too German. So I'm going to go for it as if it is, because everything for me becomes German. But it was a Stoltholt Ferdom is the approximation of Pride and Prejudice in Swedish.
And is that a truth universally acknowledged?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
Only in
even sure those
Germany.
lines are still in there. Because I think one of the great joys about seeing your own work in another language is you've no idea what they're saying. So you don't worry about it. I mean, I have at the moment a show running in Croatia, which is a musical version of one of my plays. I loved it because I have no idea what they're talking about. So I don't sit there agonising over every one of my lines not working.
You can just assume it's
Yeah.
for the best in this best.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
I was delighted by it.
And what are the challenges of bringing Jane Austen to the Swedes?
Well, trying to make it still seem funny a bit. It's a very strange production. I mean, I think it's very avant-garde. Uses a lot of very, very peculiar dance. There are sequences where Darcy's hoisted up on stage, from his armpits as a statue. Some of these things I wrote in, some of them I didn't. I got a series of interesting notes all the way through, asking me to go much, much further into taking it into total nightmare territory. It was fun, but I don't know how much of the humour is retained at times.
Did anyone around you tap the table and attempt to contact the shade of Jane Austen to see if she approved?
I knew she wouldn't, so it was fine.
That saved some time.
So,
then.
I mean, I'd constantly just say, sorry, Jane.
Because I'm pretty sure the only adaptation she would approve of is Clueless.
Oh, yeah, I'd
Yeah.
have thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I quite agree.
Yes. I mean, if we did that in Swedish, it'd be much better.
Come on, don't do yourself down. Come on.
won't.
All right. As a regular writer for BBC Radio, Robert has won 2 Sony Awards. Between them, his short story collections have won the World Fantasy Award, the Shirley Jackson Award, the Edge Hill Readers' Prize, and 4 British Fantasy Awards.
Yeah.
Wow. He is probably best known, however, for his work on Doctor Who, bringing back the Daleks for the show's revival in 2005. His most recent books are Jubilee and The Chimes of Midnight, adaptations of audio scripts he wrote for the series over 20 years ago. He has been a writer in residence at Edinburgh Napier University, senior visiting fellow at Lincoln University, and he thinks René Goscinny is better than Balzac.
He is.
And you really like Balzac.
I think Balzac's great, but I still prefer René Goscinny. I mean, Balzac had this whole human comedy of 150 novels. Goscinny does it in 24 albums. It's brilliant, the human comedy of Goscinny.
Well, it's fortunate that we're not here to discuss Balzac for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah.
What a
Particularly
Christmas episode
Yeah.
that would make.
And I haven't read any.
Yeah, well, there we
Yeah.
are.
I have.
I am going to say right now, disrobe, everyone.
Certain relief to that.
Ooh,
Oh,
that's going to make a great sound, isn't it? Dear, oh dear.
well, now let's turn to the book we're discussing today, Asterix and the Roman Agent, or as it is known in Finnish, Asterix ja Rudenkulvaja, which translates as Asterix and the Sower of Arguments. When I received this script from Andy, you can imagine how much swearing there was that he got the French and German translations. I got, and because I've been practicing it, Asterix ja Rudenkulvaja. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. The year is 50 BC. Gaul is entirely occupied by the Romans. Well, not entirely. One small village of indomitable Gauls still holds out against the invaders. And life is not easy for the Roman legionaries who garrison the fortified camps of Totarum, Aquarium, Laudanum, and Compendium. It just made you laugh, didn't it?
it's
It's
brilliant.
it's a
She's
great
biting
name.
into it, isn't she?
There's a lot of lovely
good, it's good, it's
consonants there.
good.
Thank you. In
What is it in Finnish?
in Finnish, Asterix ja Rudenkulvaja.
Right, well, that's all how we're all to refer to it
I-
from here on in.
I find that a very credible pronunciation.
So good. Apologies to our Finnish audience. In this, the 15th adventure for Asterix, Obelix, Getafix, Dogmatix, Vital Statistics, and the other residents of the little Gaulish village, Julius Caesar resorts to psychological warfare. A Roman agent and provocateur named Tortuous Convolvulus is dispatched to sow jealousy and discord. La Zizanie literally means discord. Can the Roman agent make the Gauls suspect each other of treachery? Has Asterix really sold the secret of the magic potion to the enemy? And can Asterix, Obelix, and Getafix outwit the weedy but wily Convolvulus and get the village back to normal?
I wonder if you're aware that in Danish,
Right.
this book is called Lus in Skintpelsen, which means literally the louse in the fur coat.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good time.
Isn't that
That
good?
feels very Nordic.
Because
you know,
Roman
you're gonna
agent
be-
is, I think, a very weak
I think
type.
so.
Yeah.
to be
Well,
honest.
also in both this is a little bit dark for Christmas Day, but never mind. In both Serbia and Croatia, Asterix and the Roman agent is known as divide and rule.
Really?
That's a bit on the nose, but there we are. So be it.
Shall I say it in Finnish again to lighten the
Yes,
mood?
please.
Asterix ja Rudenkulvaja.
Lus in Skuldpelsen.
Thank you, Andy.
But I will say, actually, that behind us, we have it in Hessisch.
What's Hessisch?
Hessisch is a German dialect, because I collect German Asterix books in other languages, and there are so many different German variants. And there it's Was a Gefuddel, which I believe means what a kerfuffle.
Oh, well, that's,
I think so.
sometimes German and English are very similar.
Why did we get Asterix and the Roman agent? Is very
No,
basic.
I mean, is it
Yeah.
a riff on
Asterix.
any
if you-
specific book, or is
It's
it?
maybe secret agents
Yeah,
when it
yeah,
came
but
out
like
here, right?
But I'm like,
No.
is there a Le Carre?
Oh, I see a Le Carre.
Yeah.
I'd rather have
Tinker Tailor Soldier
what-
Asterix.
Yeah, that would be okay.
a Sailor Soldier Gaul.
Oh, very good. Anyway, Albert Uderzo, illustrations, and René Goscinny, words, were born only 6 months apart, Goscinny in 1926 and Uderzo in 1927. But it wasn't until 1953 that they met each other in the Paris office of a Belgian press agency, where they were both working independently as author-illustrators of comic strips for various newspapers and magazines. Uderzo's mother and father were Italian and only arrived in France in 1922. He was born in the city of Reims, and his family moved to Paris when he was 2. At about the same time, Goscinny's father, a chemical engineer, was moving his family and the 2-year-old René to Argentina, from where they moved on to spend 7 years in the United States. In fact, Goscinny did not return to live full-time in France until 1951. 2 years later, he met Uderzo, and the pair began serialising Asterix's adventures in Pilote magazine in 1959. It was an instant success. After Goscinny's sudden death in 1977, however, Uderzo took over writing the strip until 2009, when he retired. In 2013, a new team consisting of Johnny Ferry and Didier Conrad started working on new Asterix adventures, and as we speak, there is a total of 41 canon Asterix books, with a few more on top, with the most recent, Asterix in Lusitania, penned by Conrad and his new co-creator Fab Caro, being published. It was just published in October 2025. Is it any good, Robert?
Yes. Yeah, it's very funny. In fact, I think that the new writing art team up is excellent. I mean, that the Asterix and the White Iris, which was the one from 2 years ago, because it's every 2 years in October now, is this wonderful satire about self-help gurus. And again, it has that sharpness and that sort of modern satirical edge that you want from Asterix. And I think it can hopefully just keep going with this team. I think they're great.
Where is Lusitania meant to be?
That's Portugal. So what you've now got with Asterix, and it didn't start for quite a few years, but you have this sense that every Asterix book has to go between having an adventure which is overseas, followed by an adventure which is in the village. And the village ones tend to be the more satirical and
Okay, yes. I
think
see what you mean.
a bit
Yeah,
more
yeah.
adult.
Yeah,
Whereas
right.
the ones
Interesting,
where ones which go abroad tend to be more about the flavour of having fun, laughing at Portuguese people.
Yeah.
If in many, many, many years' time, you are unable to continue with Loki's adventures, how would you feel about other people continuing your good work?
I'd love it.
now.
Absolutely. Not yeah. If they can just come over like tomorrow afternoon and
Yeah.
do it for me.
Okay, yeah.
But once I've decided to, hang up my hat, I don't know, do authors have hats? Whatever we do. Retire my pen.
hang up your
Then yes,
Vikings
I would love it.
hats.
I'd love a new
Yeah.
team. I think that'd be great.
But it's sort of guaranteed immortality, isn't it? The idea of things going
Carrying
on
on,
beyond
yeah.
us is kind of the
so-
writer's dream.
And I feel like, coming from like growing up reading comics, I read a lot of Batman, and it's not like Batman was by the original person Batman was by.
No.
You pass it along the line to the next person.
Yeah.
And Robert, how do the Asterix ultras feel about the new writers and
Well,
illustrators?
they're fans, aren't they? I mean, I'm a fan. The problem with fandom is essentially it's a fairly miserable place most of the time.
You ended up in the papers the last time you did this. Are
I
you
know,
sure?
I know.
So if you want to
But-
compare Asterix ultras to Doctor Who ultras, who's more hardcore?
It's probably the Doctor Who ultras. I think because there's so much more product and there's so much more to be angry about. Asterix, it's that funny thing. I mean, most people get into Asterix, particularly when they're kids. And when you're 55, like I am, it feels abject, pathetic sadness to be reading the new Asterix book and moaning that it feels a bit childish. So there is a part of me which does that. Every 2 years, I'll get the new Asterix book and say, well, it's not quite as serious as I like to pretend the other ones are. But yeah, I think that there's always, ever since Goscinny died, fans got increasingly very angry about the direction that Uderzo took the series in. And then Uderzo retired, and then people got cross at Ferry and Conrad for a while. But I think they're actually, as I say, I think they're rather good.
But it's true of all fandoms, isn't it? The fandom, one definition of fandom is it doesn't have to be film or TV or books. It's true of sport. It's true of football. You choose to like a thing so much that you don't like it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think only fans can ever really detect how fragile the thing that they love really is. So that you're always frightened that the thing that has just come out is going to destroy everything and there'll be nothing else afterwards. So you go into it with such a feeling of apprehension that, that this new Doctor Who serial, that this new casting of the Doctor, but then also this new Asterix direction might now be so awful and you don't instinctively like it anyway. It will mean the whole thing is over and then
Louie, are you a fan of Christmas?
A fan of Christmas. I mean,
You're supposed to say, yes, it's not as good as it used to be.
Okay. I was going to say, no, I prefer Jesus' later works.
Yeah,
I'm more into Easter.
yeah, okay. We are gathered here on Christmas Day to talk about Asterix, Obelix, as you said, all the other characters beloved around the world, even now in the United States of America, where they are appearing in new American English translations, where Getafix is no longer called Getafix.
What's he called?
He's panoramics.
Oh, like the French?
Yes, which
Yeah.
I suppose is fine.
Yeah.
It's not funny, though.
But no, but actually, I shouldn't say it, but I will. The American translations aren't particularly funny. They have removed
The
so
jokes.
much of the Anthea Bell translation.
Because you could add American jokes in. So I had to do an American translation from one of my books. Not an entire translation, just a
Yeah.
few things. And in this book, Loki plays a game called Knock, Poo, Run. So it's a bit like knock and run.
Yep.
The idea is you knock on the door and they come out, but there's an added step where you put a poo on the doorstep, so they step in the poo.
Yep.
So it's called knock, poo, run in English, and the Americans they don't have knock and run. They have ding and dash, so we called it dung and dash.
That's rather good.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming, everybody. We have an appropriately festive bottle of magic potion there that we will be taking swigs from. We will swig it, and we will then leap up and go, by Toutatis. But let's start with Louie. We always ask on Backlisted,
Yeah.
can you recall when you first became aware of Asterix, or can you recall which your first Asterix book might have been?
So the answer is no. However, I can recall my first sort of deep dive into Asterix fandom, which was, I think, my 8th birthday, where I made everyone dress up as Asterix characters. And I made my mum make me a wild boar cake.
Wow.
And I told everyone who to be, but one person didn't get the memo and came as Asterix. So Asterix then had, because I was obviously Asterix, Asterix had a twin. And And the reason that this whole thing was set up was I wanted to fight a boy. So I made him be Julius Caesar. So the centerpiece of the party was me fighting Julius Caesar.
That's
and I'd been doing a bit of judo at that time, so I knew how to do it.
You've been really preparing for this
I've been
conflict.
preparing.
Yeah.
No one's ever answered that question in quite such a psychodramatic way. Thank you.
However, one of the first books I really liked of Asterix was Asterix and Cleopatra.
Yeah.
Yes, Asterix and Cleopatra, presumably catching a wave, as Carry On Cleo did from the Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor film,
Yeah.
would be my guess, right?
65?
Yes, that's about right, yeah.
That's when it came out, yeah.
But I found the fact that Obelix was responsible for the Sphinx thing very funny.
Right, okay, yeah. Did you have a sense as a child that of the point... I was a big fan of Peanuts. We also, of course, I read Tintin, all these things from 70s childhood. And I had a very strong sense of the changes in the artwork over the early editions of those series.
Right.
So you sort of knew where you were in the development because of
With
not the
Peanuts,
text so much, but the
Figures of the
illustration
children,
style.
yeah.
Yeah. I didn't read those, but my kind of peak comics was 2000 AD.
Right.
And Oink. And Oink did not in any way change its style over the however many years it managed to survive. Because some of those artists are still drawing in exactly the same way now.
Okay, good. Good.
Rob, how about you? Do you have a memory of your first Asterix encounter?
It's kind of odd, really. My dad had this strange job where he had to go and drive around Europe quite a bit, visiting supermarkets and hypermarkets to check whether certain groceries were on shelves or not, and maybe get some of them to give to rival competitors. He was like a sort of grocery spy, my dad, and he would sometimes take me with him, and I'd sit at the front and I'd pretend I was map reading, but I probably wasn't. And when we went to one of these hypermarkets, like a Mammouth or a Carrefour around France or Germany or Belgium or wherever, he dropped me off in the book section while he went around and found the cat food and whatever. And those book sections were dominated by Asterix. And I hadn't really tried it much in English. I think I'd got one once and wasn't that impressed. But I found that I was drawn to, I was bored in part, but I was drawn to these wonderful picture books. And my dad began buying them for me. In French, and I would read them on our travels. And I couldn't read French. I didn't do French at school till I was 10. I was about 8. So I began to get them in English, and I would compare the translations. And I very quickly realised that the names in Asterix books are puns, and the puns weren't the same in French. And that was really interesting. There was this one time, I'm going to show it to you. My dad came home from a trip without me, and he brought me this. This is the actual book. This is The Odyssey of Asterix, which became Asterix and the Black Gold a couple of years later. It was 2 years before the English translation came out, so I did it myself. I had to, I got a French dictionary and tried to translate it, and I did it very, very badly. It was baffling for the most part. And it was around that sort of time that I began just writing short stories and trying to only so I could translate them. I became really obsessed by the idea of translation.
So did you speak French by then? Or
no, not at all.
You were just making it up?
Yeah, I was getting the French dictionaries and also, because my dad had so many of them because he travelled, Swedish dictionaries, Dutch dictionaries, and I was writing little bits of short stories, and then only so I could put them in to other languages. But of course I wasn't, because I didn't know any of the grammar. I was just taking words I could see in the dictionaries. And I would do that so I could have at the back of the book also available and have all the different translations.
Did you play with any of the names? Did you translate any of the Asterix names, or did you stick with the French ones or the English?
Yeah, I didn't have the any of the wit for that. I didn't always understand the names.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a name that I only realised when I reread it a few years ago what it actually was.
Which was?
It was Asterix in Britain. It's a great name. So the British chieftain in that has the ending os because of Casavellanos, the British chieftain. And I read it as my kingdom for Arnos. And I only realised it's actually my kingdom for an os.
Yeah.
From Richard III.
Yeah.
But I didn't realise that at all until
I mean,
was
why
in
would
my
you until
40s.
you've read Richard III.
Exactly.
I
So
liked
some of those names were
the
just
two Roman guards, Sender Victorious and Appy and Glorious.
They're two of my favourites.
That was
Also, because Appian, of course, has the Appian
Appian
way.
Way, exactly.
Right.
It
Gorgeous.
works in
That's
its own
very,
language.
very
Yeah.
clever.
I didn't understand the joke "get a fix" until I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't. You take these things for granted.
Yeah.
I remember you saying, Robert, about a thing I remember you saying about Doctor Who, which is terribly true, is non-fans will always say, oh, terrible special effects, or look at the shaky scenery.
Yeah.
But as a fan, you can't, you're almost blind to it,
Yeah.
aren't you? Right? And so I didn't spend my time as a child thinking, why is he called Get a Fix? What does that mean?
No.
Until
It's just a name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, but it's quite a 60s kind of joke, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Getting
yeah.
a fix of
Yeah.
something is,
I
is a...
plugged in Airfix for that. That
Did
was
you?
Yeah.
Get Airfix.
But exactly the same. I had no idea what Get a
Yeah.
Fix meant.
Airfix.
I basically
Airfix.
thought some of the
Probably
names meant
true.
something and some of them didn't. And then I realised I just didn't get all the names.
Yeah. I mean, I went through Asterix and Lusitania when it came out a couple of months ago, and I found I didn't get half the names. Because they're all quite modern now. They're all sort of modern cultural things. And
TikToks. And,
yeah, it's all these TikTok people
Yeah.
writing Asterix books, and I think I don't know what any of these things are referring to
and
because
that's why it's not as good as it
I'm
was.
old and jaded, and I wrote a very, very stern letter.
Do you want to have a stab at reading us a little of Asterix and the Roman Agent, or what's it called? Sorry.
I could do it in French.
Let me
if you want.
refer to my notes again. Le Rudentalvaya.
Perfect. Or La Zizanie, as you see fit.
Zizanie? No.
Yes, I could do.
Would you like to read us a little bit?
Do we have an English version of it?
We do.
Well, I
If
could
you-
read it in French.
If you reach down... Oh,
there
look,
we
there's
are.
one right there.
The bit that I liked was the bit where Asterix and Obelix fall out and make up, which I thought was extremely touching.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to have to explain the artwork here. So what has happened in this instance
It's a
is
rot
that
thing to do to you.
torture. Yeah, I'm
Sorry, Robert.
Happy Christmas, Rob.
Happy Christmas. Yeah.
I am seething with rage. Tortuous Convolvulus, the Roman agent of the not necessarily well translated title, has started his machinations by bringing to the most important man in the village a Roman vase, and not giving it to the chief, but giving it to Asterix. And Tortuous Convolvulus has returned to Asterix and has lied about the fact that he's had a dinner with Asterix. So, and Obelix is inside, and Vital Statistics arrives. And the thing to say about all this as well is that as they get more and more jealous, their speech bubbles get greener and greener.
Yes, that's a brilliant touch, yes.
So, Asterix runs out of his own hut and bumps into the chief, Vital Statistics. Ah, Asterix, so you've been having guests to share your boar, have you? Asterix says, guess no such thing apart from Obelix, and Vital Statistics says, that Roman seemed to appreciate your boar all the same. And Asterix says, he didn't touch it. Come and see, O chief. We have 2 boars and they haven't even been started. And then Vital Statistics, because he's still carrying the vase, says, don't you ever let go of that vase? And they come in to the hut, and Obelix, because he's a greedy pig, has eaten both of the boars already. And Vital Statistics leaves, saying, you're free to choose your own friends, Asterix, even in the enemy camp, even Romans. And Asterix shouts at Obelix, couldn't you wait before gobbling up those boars, you greedy pig? Obelix says, they were getting cold, and when you went out after your friend, Asterix says, he is not my friend. Obelix shouts, you're free to choose your own friends, Asterix, even in the enemy camp, even Romans. And Asterix shouts, I'll be more careful about choosing my friends in future. Obelix then says with great dignity, I get the message. Come along, dogmatics. We're in the way here. And for the first time, Obelix's own speech bubble turns green. And he turns around in the doorway and raises his arm in a Roman, but also feels a bit like a Nazi salute, which is very relevant, and says, Ave, Asterix.
That was cold.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was much more like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf than I was expecting it to be.
And me too.
Yeah, but also the spirit of Christmas lunch there.
Yeah.
in a kind of.
Yeah.
No, we're going to hear a clip now of Goscinny and Uderzo. And if I remember correctly, it's Uderzo who speaks first. This was an interview done for French TV. They are speaking in French. Louie, when we come back, perhaps you could help,
I can
help
praise
us
you for
understand
you.
some of what's being said. But
Okay.
we always on Backlisted like to have, if we can, the voice of the author or authors in the show. So here they are being interviewed in 1968. It's Uderzo first, and then Goscinny.
Goscinny et Uderzo, première question, comment est né Astérix? Puisque vous êtes les deux créateurs de ce personnage mondialement connu maintenant. Je m'adresse déjà au scénariste ou au dessinateur? Au scénariste.
Eh bien, il est né très simplement. Nous devions faire une histoire pour le journal que nous venions de créer et nous avons pensé à faire des Gaulois, très simplement. Et c'est comme ça qu'il est né.
C'est le premier niais des personnages, avant Obélix, à bras raccourcis, etc.
Oh, il est né le premier, oui, mais enfin, il a été suivi de très près par tous les autres. Il a suffi de quelques heures à peine pour que toute l'histoire, toute la base de l'histoire soit bâtie.
Uderzo, est-ce que vous avez tout de suite trouvé le bon Astérix? Ou est-ce que votre crayon s'est laissé aller à quelques tentatives avant de découvrir ce Astérix que nous connaissons maintenant?
Non, le premier Astérix, évidemment, était tout à fait différent de celui que vous connaissez. Il était d'abord très grand. Il ressemblait davantage à Vercingétorix. Alors vous voyez, c'est pas tout à fait le genre aujourd'hui. Et je dois dire que je le sentais peut-être un peu moins que le sentait Goscinny. Goscinny voyait tout de suite le petit teigneux, l'affreux petit bonhomme qui était toujours prêt à la bagarre. Et puis alors, bon, on en a discuté évidemment, et alors là j'ai dû rectifier le tir et le réduire de moitié.
Goscinny, vous êtes scénariste d'une autre bande dessinée très connue parmi les jeunes, c'est Lucky Luke.
As you can see, if you're watching this, we've cracked open the magic potion because it's Christmas. And I feel a sudden rush of strength. So I'm going to go and lie down from that. But when we come back from the break, we will ask Louie to tell us in 15 seconds or less what Goscinny and Uderzo were talking about there. So we'll see you in a moment. Come back.
Welcome back. Louie, translate for me, please.
Okay, well, I understood it, but I can't remember it. But basically, part of what they were talking about is where did the idea come from? And basically, they wanted something for their periodical. And they wanted to do something about Gauls. And then they were talking about, did the idea for the kind of character design come straight away? Or was it something developed? And in that process, originally Asterix was big for one of them. I didn't actually catch which one it was, but the other one had always knew that Asterix was small. And then talking about the fact that one of them, I didn't catch which one, also did Lucky Luke.
What struck me was that was Paris in 1968. There was other stuff happening.
Yeah.
and there are Goscinny and Uderzo kind of enjoying a level of popular success probably no cartoonist or cartoonist team have had before.
No, I imagine not. I mean, they were. I know Uderzo was collecting Lamborghinis.
Wow.
I mean, he was. Yeah, I mean, they were doing very, very well, and
So-
of course, they created their own film studio for a few years.
Well, I went to Park Asterix when I was a kid.
Oh,
I've never
really?
been.
The
I've
best
never been
theme
to
park
Asterix.
in the world,
I
just outside
bet.
Paris. And they had live gladiator fights. They had a kind of recreation of the village.
Wow.
They had a magic carpet ride from Asterix and Magic Carpet. They had all the traditional. There was a pirate ship.
See,
just
we
the-
should be there now.
I know.
Why did we go to New York? We could have gone there.
Yeah. So I don't know if it still exists, but in the 80s.
Oh, I think it does.
Yeah.
Ours has never been.
Can I want to just first of all, I'd like to ask Robert something about the. It's all right, don't worry. About the why this strip particularly resonated in France in post-war times,
Yeah.
and then Louis, I will come on to how you think they stand up today. Okay, so let's start with.
What, you mean Roman agent in particular, or
Well-
I mean certainly around this point, what's going on is that Asterix begins in 1959. France was occupied, obviously, by the Nazis. There is a strong sense of trying to find both, a real sense of national identity, but also about trying to sort out your own, how you deal with that idea of what it was like to have been occupied and whether or not that was a collaboration or whatever. Roman Agent is very, very specifically, I think, about the idea at this time. It's a generation on, and around the early 1970s, there was an awful lot of people trying to examine and insinuate that maybe that you couldn't trust other people because of their involvement. Roman Agent is, I think, very much about the idea of collaboration with the enemy. I mean, the bit I read out so wonderfully earlier, in part is about that idea about how you can now still be friends with people that you were enemies with before.
Yeah.
Most of Asterix, I think, right from the word go, I mean, Uderzo and Goscinny used to always poo-poo the idea because they wanted it to be fun. But this idea of this one village on the very edge of France holding out against the invaders is so obviously all about the occupation of France in the war.
And the idea that the true spirit of the French would have remained intact had only they had magic potion.
Yeah.
Right? Is the kind of, you know, do we see much of occupied Gaul outside the village?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, there's a book called Asterix and the Big Fight, Le Combat des Chefs, where they have the first introduction of a Gaulish chief who is a totally Roman Gaul. He wants everything to be more Roman. He is so in love with the occupiers that at the beginning of the book, he is having aqueducts built, even though they don't need aqueducts. And he wants the water to be diverted so it will actually make more sense. He wants everything to be Roman. And it's about that awkward sort of relationship you have with the invaders. And there's a wonderful book called Asterix and the Cauldron, where
that was
the Gaulish chief... Oh, it's gorgeous, Asterix and the Cauldron. It's a wonderful satire, where the chief, whose morals are elastics,
that's right,
is basically always dealing with the Romans, and he will claim that he's charging more for the Romans, but actually the Romans buy everything he does anyway, so it's absolutely perfectly fine. So it all becomes this idea of the village trying to avoid the idea that they're going to lose all of their identity. And
while at the same time, there are parodies of what would have been topical phenomena in Asterix. So, for instance, the Mansion of the Gods is about the building of tower blocks or the equivalent thereof, which seems a very esoteric subject. Obelix and Co., which you very kindly suggested we read.
It's genius, Obelix.
I'd never read that before. That was that's an incredible.
It's a satire upon capitalism and market forces.
Well, it does.
And the idea of
it's very contemporary now.
Mad Men did in 5 seasons.
I mean, what's exciting about later Asterix books by Goscinny, because they become so satirical, it's about the way in which Julius Caesar decides to wipe out the Gauls, not through force of arms, but by sort of social encroachment.
Soft power.
So Obelix and Co. is a very good example of that. But Roman
Agent as well.
The Mansions of the Gods, the idea is very specifically, if we build tower blocks right by them and then tourists come to visit, they will be softened. And that's actually what happens. Eventually, by the end of Mansions of the Gods, the Gauls are just constantly just selling knickknacks to all the Roman people who are not Roman legionaries. It's that also, it's what I was saying earlier on about also that it doesn't take long for them not to want to present the Romans as Nazis. The Roman legionaries have quite quickly become actually quite sympathetic.
Is there a point where it starts to become a fear of Americanization?
Yeah, and there's also an awful lot of that.
Yeah.
Because Uderzo in particular had a tremendous fear upon that sort of whole superhero thing. The irony, of course, is that the idea of a magic potion which gives you superhuman strength feels like a superhero story, and they so rarely use it because that would ruin the story. Asterix is mostly about avoiding the idea that they have something which is actually quite fantastical.
And we should say, of course, as Tom Holland does, and nobody dies.
And nobody dies, ever.
Yeah.
And indeed also, apart from in the very first book, the Gauls never have weapons. I mean, there's a very odd image in Asterix the Gaul where you see a small child and they've got swords, and they're because at that point they are, the idea that the Gauls are these quite dangerous foes is still there. But actually, but
They just
the
punch
Gauls,
people.
the Gauls just punch people. And by
Yeah.
the time you reach Obelix and Co, which is late Goscinny, Obelix is given an entire garrison as a birthday present for him to go and beat up because of course they'll always win.
There's a
So it is
full
Tom and Jerry,
page in
yeah.
Roman Agent, isn't there, where it's
Yeah.
a diagram of the battle that ensues, and it's it's all barked out arrows and everything, little legends and all this, and what it amounts to is 5 separate parties of Gauls leaping over a wall and punching whichever Romans are within
very
striking
funny.
distance. Yeah.
Louis, what struck me going back to them is, although there are these elements that are satirical and they have some fun with the format, like you just said there, it's not reforming satire, is it?
No.
It's about play. It's about play. What can we draw on to make fun for our readers?
I mean, it's
And we pull
observational
in-
comedy. It's sort of Germans eat cereal like this, French people eat cereal like this, with better jokes. But it's it's looking at stereotypes, but also I suppose looking at what empire means.
And
as well.
how do you think that reads now?
Well, I don't know that many children that read Asterix now, which is interesting. I mean, basically because they're very well served for comics at the moment.
They are
of a more
extremely
contemporary
well
nature.
Yeah.
And kind of with maybe satire that would sort of speak to them in a different way.
Yeah.
But I'd be really interested to know what a contemporary child would think of Obelix and Co, say, because that is also, it seems to be about late stage capitalism. It's also about the tulip craze, so it works at both ends. I think the art style would probably be quite off putting to quite a lot of children now.
Why?
Because it maybe just feels old fashioned, but it is not something that you see in contemporary comics. It's not like, kind of, a lot of superhero art styles have kind of kept a relative consistency over the years, whereas this is a style that isn't really out there. I think those kind of sort of hyper exaggerated features. I mean, you get hyper exaggeration, but much more in a manga context. And I think kids are much more moving towards a manga style of art,
Well,
which this isn't.
Goscinny and Uderzo both said they were very influenced by Disney, and certainly Goscinny, having grown up in New York or spent a lot of time in New York in the States in the 40s, but I see exactly what you mean.
Because I actually think something like Tintin, which I never liked very much, but that art style actually probably does speak to children more. And I think it's partly because there's a lot of artists now who are influenced by Tintin in a way that not many artists were influenced by Asterix. They were much more likely to be influenced by the story concept rather than the art style.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I didn't like Tintin either for some reason.
Tintin was obviously racist. I only realised Asterix was very racist much later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tintin was like on the nose racism. Asterix was like, oh wait, no, that's racist.
Yeah.
But I didn't realise till later.
So those elements been tamed a little in recent
Oh yeah,
years?
that's interesting. Actually, I haven't read the recent one. So is it less
not-
racist? Is it less sexist? Is it less?
I would say not in that edition of Roman Agent. There's a sort of panel of the pirate crew.
No, sorry. I mean in the new ones that you've been reading.
Yeah,
are they
yeah.
less racist?
Ish. There was a lot of controversy about Asterix and the Missing Scroll, which was the second one by Ferry and Conrad, which still had thick-lipped Numidian.
Yeah.
That has now been eased out. It has been eased out generally. I mean, in early editions of Asterix in English, one of the things that they would do with the pirate crew is that the black pirate would speak in a patois, and in English that became a strange patois as well, and that looked very awkward very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And that's been corrected. That was corrected even when I was a small child.
Yeah.
It's difficult because a lot of Asterix also depends upon the amiable stereotyping of other countries.
We were
Well, the
talking
intra-Europe
about,
stuff, I think, works. That's
Yes,
fine.
absolutely.
No one
So,
really
we've got-
minds you
we've got
making fun of the British.
You've got
of course.
Asterix the Legionary, which is taking all the Europeans that they can, because Asterix joins a little legion where you have a Briton and you have a Belgian and you have Goths and you have a hilarious Egyptian who thinks for the whole time that he's actually staying in a hotel while he's actually in a Roman legion. And all of those things are jokes that go about those countries, but they never feel as if they're...
Though I feel like the Egyptian one wasn't really a joke about Egypt. It was just a joke about someone that speaks a different language and hasn't worked out what's going on.
Yeah.
That's right. And also the fact that you could have just delightful fun with all the hieroglyphs.
Yeah. So everything he
I
says.
think you're
is in
right,
hieroglyphs,
Louis.
yeah.
I think what happens is, first of all, as you say, the intra-Europe gags are also coming out of a post-war settlement mood. So kind of, we've been fighting, but now we're all pals and we can take a little bit of teasing.
Yeah.
And as soon as they go wider, they're in trouble.
Yeah, but I think in terms of like the compass of children now, I'm not sure they're very interested in Europe. They're much more interested in Japanese culture, Korean culture. France is just a bit like, why? Why France? Bof.
Boff, did you say?
I said bof.
Boff.
Tant pis.
Tant pis, hein?
And we haven't yet mentioned, as this is Asterix in Britain, we are in Britain, we haven't mentioned the contribution made by Anthea Bell and Derek Hockridge.
Oh.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I got to interview Anthea at the Glasgow Book Fair once, and it was one of the genuinely the proudest moments of my life. She was lovely as well. And I sat in a taxi with her and told her how much what she did meant to me, and actually how it also, that she'd opened the door for me to want to read things in translation. Without Anthea, I wouldn't have also read. I mean, she also translated things like W.G. Sebald. I mean, she was a
has
tremendous
that
translator.
distinction, yes.
But I mean, she was an amazing translator. But also, I wouldn't have read Maupassant and Zola when I was a teenager without the fact that Asterix in some ways had made me want to read things that hadn't come out of England. And so she kind of transformed my life, and she was so amiable about it. I mean, I was able to tell her that because Russell T Davies, who was my boss on Doctor Who, like me, was a massive Asterix fan, and there's an entire Doctor Who story, The Fires of Pompeii, which is based upon Russell's adoration of Asterix and the
that's an
Royal Reef.
Asterix fanfic. I didn't know that.
So there's a Roman family in that, and it's based upon the Roman family in Asterix and the Royal Reef.
Brilliant.
And I was able to tell Anthea that, and she was so thrilled because she could go back and actually impress her grandchildren who weren't that fussed about her writing Asterix, but were Doctor Who fans.
Yeah.
So there's but
Well, I think Asterix was a classical education for so many people.
yeah.
Yes.
It's like when I did Latin for a bit at school, and I was like, oh, I know this from Asterix.
Yeah.
I've got a copy here of Asterix Apud Britannos, which is Asterix in Britain in Latin. Would you like to attempt to read some of it, or shall I?
I'll go for it.
Great. This is... it is Christmas, everybody.
So my Latin teacher
Like a
used to
parlor
do it
game.
in an Italian accent, so I don't.
Oh, that's even better though.
Yeah, I haven't got my glasses, which is the only thing. Is that? Let's see what. Well, it's better than nothing. Okay, so we are seeing a map of Britain. Per mare Britannicum, quod fretum Britanniam a contentia divitit, aliqui parite for providente navigant. So this is the pirate speaking. Colatrones, pecunia diu reposite hanc navem emius, itaque Galli nobis caviende sunt. I assume they're hoping not to meet the Gauls. That's my gloss of that.
I had to do Latin at school. It would have been much better if it had been like that. Thank you very much. I tell you what, Nikki was complaining that we only ever include foreign languages that I understand. The French. I didn't understand a word of that, Nick. No. Thank you, Louis. Thank you so much.
So long.
But did you feel were you talking about the illustrative style, perhaps? Seems of its time. The texts, the English texts, how do you think those
So
stand
I think
up?
that stands up pretty well, actually, because I think wordplay doesn't really date, and also because not much of it was very contemporary. It was actually making jokes about the classics, about ancient Rome. So it wasn't like the equivalent of Taylor Swift, whatever, the 1980s equivalent of Taylor Swift would be. Kylie?
Why not?
Yeah. Anyway, so I think in that way it wouldn't date. It wasn't trying to be contemporary. So, and I think a lot of the jokes, the sort of sheer density of jokes, is really impressive. Actually, I think because I rereading these before I came here, there was definitely jokes I noticed that I hadn't noticed before.
Yeah.
Like the fact that the guy went to the LSE, the Latin School of Economics.
Yeah.
Which I had not noticed, obviously,
Yeah.
because I didn't know what the LSE was as a child. Yeah.
When my son was little, his favourite joke in all the Asterix books that he read is in Asterix in Britain, and it's a visual joke. And when they've been put in prison, and Asterix says, "I've had enough of this. We need to get out of here," and just punches his way out. And there's a sight gag of the look on the British man's face.
That is brilliant. I was thinking that
He would look at that for minutes on end, laughing, because it's such a
He
great.
breaks the fourth wall and looks out, just
Yeah.
baffled, straight out of the dark.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And the pacing of the gags is great. There's a bit in Asterix and the Roman Agent, actually, like that, where you've got a lumbering Roman legionary that they call Magnum Opus, who is very thick. And he's going to be the one who's dealing with psychological warfare. And Magnum Opus just turns and looks out at us before it resumes. And it's brilliantly paced, and it's very, very funny.
And
I mean,
the jokes, the British jokes, not just in Asterix in Britain, but the fact that in Asterix and the Legionary, they're eating this terrible food in the kind of camp, and everyone's disgusted except the British person who's like,
loves it.
delicious.
Yeah.
Everything's just been boiled together in a pot.
Yeah. I mean, I find it funny that, we're talking about that whole offensive thing earlier. When Asterix in Britain was written, Goscinny wrote an introduction for the very first edition, apologising to the British,
I didn't know that.
saying, I hope you understand this is all done in love and you are our friends.
Yeah.
But of course, it also became the most popular Asterix book in Britain.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, it's like politicians love having
Yeah.
caricatures of themselves.
Yeah.
Being made fun of means you're important. If they're not making fun of you, you
It's
don't
also a very amiable parody.
Yeah, yeah.
The reason that the Romans beat the British, basically, is that they only decide to fight when we've stopped at 3 p.m. when we have our tea.
But they hadn't invented tea, so it's
So
hot
it's actually
water.
hot water. That's right. It's just
Yeah.
hot water, which is great and enormously fun. And we're always terribly polite.
It struck me that the relationship between Anthea Bell and Derek Hockridge's translations and the French, while not as freeform, are not unlike Eric Thompson's translations of the Magic Roundabout, in very much in the same
Wait, what language was the Magic Roundabout in first?
French.
Was it?
Yeah.
Did not know that.
And furthermore, it's nothing like that. Eric Thompson would watch one and then improvise his own plot,
Right,
his
yeah.
own dialogue.
Yeah.
But I do feel with Asterix there is a rewriting element because of
Yeah.
the layering of new jokes.
Well, Robert, is the that's a hard question, forgive me. Is the character of the writing different in translation?
Yes. Yes, I really think it is.
Yeah.
And I think actually that's part of the joy of it and why I became so obsessed by catching Asterix in different languages, in part is because it's always been a different identity. Anthea told me that one of the great joys she had doing Asterix was that Goscinny knew English very well. And he would always encourage her to go further and to be as free as she wanted. Some of her favourite gags, you point out, I think her favourite gag that she was very proud of was Asterix the Legionary. Again, because Uderzo puts in some wonderful art gags, and there's a bit where he does a parody of the painting, the Wreck of the Medusa.
Oh, yeah.
by Jericho, which is in the Louvre, and we have a parody of it. And the French is the pirate then says "Je suis médusé," which is a joke because I am whatever, and that won't translate. And so she knew she had to do a completely different joke, and the joke in Asterix the Legionary is something I can't quite remember it now, annoyingly, but it's something. But we've been sunk by Jericho or something.
Oh,
So
okay.
it becomes this thing where she used to say that they couldn't always get all the jokes right, but she and Derek Hockridge, she said, had this plan that there'd be the same number of jokes a page. So if they couldn't get a joke to work, they would find a new joke somewhere else and put that in anyway. So there was always the same sort of density of jokes.
Because it's a
even
good
if the French
translation.
ones are different.
It's a good translation of a joke if the joke is funny.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And because it's so punny, and Goscinny's humour is so punny, which is odd because other things he did aren't.
Yeah. Also, French is not actually the easiest language to pun in, because I would say it's easier to pun in English because we have more words. Like there just is a larger number of things that could sound like things.
They love wordplay, and indeed, if you look at Gainsbourg's songwriting is much more often about the sound of the words and the jokes than it is about the content.
But Goscinny would take, because Goscinny was writing while doing Asterix. He was writing with Morris. He was doing the Western series Lucky Luke. He was doing Is No Good with Tabari. Tabari hated puns. So for all of the Is No Good books, of which I've got an example to hold up later, there were no puns at all. So Goscinny would tailor his style to fit the artist.
He was
also
aware
working
that the
for.
title was Is No Good.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
No, he did.
That was the limit.
I don't think Tabari ever noticed. But,
Is this supposed to be funny?
Yeah.
Said like you're
Yeah.
Swedish.
yes.
We were talking yesterday about similar to the idea that one's route to culture was wherever one could find it.
Yeah.
So television or whatever, or books. But you were saying about the what were you saying about the Jericho?
Oh, yes, that I had observed that this appeared. Versions that appear in a couple of Asterix books, don't they? And then the next time I encountered it was as the cover of the Pogues album Rum, Sodomy and the Lash.
Oh wow.
And so that meant that no longer was it an Asterix joke. It was clearly an intertextual joke, but there was some kind of background that I knew nothing about.
Yeah.
And this being 1988 and St Helens, I had no way of clicking on that hyperlink to discover what it was until probably I was in the Louvre.
Yeah.
And, oh, I see.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, Jericho. Right. Yeah. The
yeah.
click, 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 click,
Yeah.
click.
This is what I always think about Shakespeare's comedies, because they're not funny. Well, not to me anyway. And I was like, we might probably missing all these layers of references that would have been absolutely kind of obvious to an audience in Elizabethan England. But for me, I'm just like, I just don't get it. But it's, it's probably like layers of satire. I mean, obviously I get the rude jokes, but the rest of it.
But it also means that now that when you do a Shakespeare comedy at the National, it's like a form of translation.
Yeah,
so what you're saying is, okay, this scene would have been funny in 1601, but what we're going to do is put other gags in.
Visual gags.
So it has the same density. So it becomes, I think, very much the same as doing an Asterix thing, where you're saying you are translating things that simply won't work if you just do them cold.
I mean, arguably, I think humour is the thing that most suffers by being decontextualised, but through the passage of time.
So sometimes,
a lot. But for instance, what you were saying about some of the jokes or some of the stereotype jokes. This is what I think. I imagine. I'm sure they seem far more benign in context. In other words, I don't think they would make those jokes now because they would be aware that that's not okay.
I think even the European jokes, there's a difference making them in the 50s and 60s as we emerge into the common market. And dare I say it, post-Brexit, they don't, you wonder how well they play.
And also I think countries have changed, so
that's
the kind of, there is, if you're making a joke about a Brit from the 1950s or a Brit now has a flair up there, rather than a cup of tea, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was like, what language can I use on this podcast?
Yes, they do. That's
bum, up their bum. Yeah.
It is the odd thing, though, I
Asterix and
think.
the burning stick.
It's the odd thing, though, I think, because as I say, though, I think there are two different types of Asterix book now. You have the overseas ones, and you have the ones in the village. And the overseas ones are the ones which seem dated. And I think are the ones which aren't as strong anyway, generally speaking. But the ones in the village, which are about which are much more dramatic and much more satirical and much more
about human nature.
Yeah.
I think the
those
stuff
ones
about
don't date.
bureaucracy is always brilliant.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's very French. They do love their bureaucracy, and but the one that wasn't actually a proper Asterix book, it was a film, and they did a book of the film.
Oh,
the
12 tasks. Yeah.
And that one had the best satire on bureaucracy I've ever seen, where you have to go to get the blue form, and in order to get the blue form, you have to get the yellow form. But to get the yellow form, you need the green form. To get the green form, you need the blue form.
Yeah.
And that's the place that drives you mad.
Yeah.
And I've been in that meeting.
Yeah.
I've worked at that university.
Yeah. I've tried to get paid by that university.
indeed.
And yet, as you said earlier, some things have dated, but if you gave Obelix and Co. to someone who's lived through the last 10 years or 20 years or 5 years or however long,
it's
it
the
would
AI
seem
bubble, like many years are
Yeah.
the AI bubble, or their NFTs, or their whatever the
Yeah,
previous
yeah.
thing before NFTs were. I hope it's a bubble.
I hope it's a bubble.
So, Robert, you have collected these from around the world.
Yes.
Would you please show us, and if anyone's watching at home, please hold up for our delectation and delight some of your collection, please.
I didn't bring it. I mean, the thing which I find funny is that when I got the email to appear on this,
Yes.
I was at that point in a bookshop in Reykjavik looking for a copy of Asterix and the Normans in Icelandic. So I didn't go there for it. I was there.
Did they have it?
Oh yeah. Cost a fortune.
Well, everything does in
'cause
Iceland.
Everything in
That's
Iceland costs a
Iceland.
fortune.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was in Helsinki a while back, and I found a copy of Asterix and Son.
Which is Asterix.
Well, it's two things. Asterix in Poika is Finnish.
Okay.
I found in the same bookshop Asterixim Boikani Muckle. And I went to the front of the shop and I said, I'd like both of these, I said, but
What language is that?
but what is this? He said, well, it's Finnish. And I said, okay, so what's that? And he said, it's Finnish. And I said, well, how can they both be Finnish? He said, I don't know. So he sort of shrugged in a very, very Finnish way. And so I bought them both, and I still don't really know what the difference is. And in some ways, I never want to find out. If I look inside, it says
Could there be
Helsinki.
different dialects of Finnish?
I suppose. I mean, that's the thing which I find really great as an Asterix collector. I mean, I had it behind us. It's the Vosses Gefuddel. There are 30 different German translations of all the different Asterix books. Because they have them, I've got some in Kölsch, which is the dialect in Cologne.
Yeah.
And they do their own Asterix books. And they have the ones in München, which is from Munich. So you've got to buy those as well.
Do the books in München make jokes about people in Cologne? That's what
I mean, you're making the presumption I've actually tried reading.
them.
I mean, I think the days of that are past. I mean, I've got Russian and Polish. There's a Polish Asterix and the Roman Agent up there as well. And I can't resist it. I don't fixate upon the Asterix collection almost all the time. But if I'm abroad, I suddenly think,
Oh, hang on.
I must get some foreign Asterix.
But also, though, come on, you're a fan. You're a collector.
I am a big fan.
Right? We're all fans and
We've
collectors
been there.
here. The sweet agony of knowing there are 30 German translations
I know.
to try and get hold of.
I was
Good
very
Lord.
And
upset
also that
because-
these Finnish ones have got different spines, which I imagine.
I know.
Yeah.
But I was very upset. I was in Ålesund in Norway. I was on a cruise, which is why I was in Reykjavik. And we had one day in a Norwegian town. And I led my poor wife around the town saying, but while we're here, we might find a bookshop or two. And she said, oh, for God's sake.
Before we wrap up, I asked you, Robert, if there was any Christmas Asterix story or any scene set.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to ask you to read it again. Don't worry.
Oh, good.
I
I mean,
remember
the problem with
one.
Christmas, I mean, because it's set in 50 BC. So it's 50 years before Christmas comes along. But there is an Asterix short story. Asterix and the Cast is a sort of collection of short pieces.
I really enjoyed.
And
I'd
it's-
never read Asterix and the
No,
Cast
I haven't.
I
I-
really
it's
enjoyed
quite
dipping
sweet.
into it.
It's quite sweet, and it's sort of early things by Goscinny and Uderzo for the magazine. And there's a thing that they did for Christmas, which is about Obelix trying to kiss people under the mistletoe.
Oh, yeah, I did read that. Sorry, I didn't really register
Yeah,
that
you're
being
right.
Christmas.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I think that's as close as they actually could get to Christmas. So.
It was a sort of callback to him being in love with Panacea as
yeah,
well.
Yeah.
yes, which is quite sweet.
And mistletoe is quite
Mistletoe's
Asterix-y and
quite
quite
Asterix.
Christmas.
Yeah, 'cause it
Asterix.
is.
So
It's
there,
quite
there is
druidy,
a so
isn't
there
it?
is a Christmas. There is a kind of winter Asterix story.
Winterfall.
That's the first thing.
Yes.
It's in Asterix in the Class Act. I tell you what I liked as a clever arse. I liked the Goscinny and Uderzo strip in which they appeared about their adventures
Yes.
at the end in Asterix
Yeah.
in the Class Act. I thought that was wonderful.
I like
Yeah.
the one where they all start drawing it in different styles as well.
Yeah.
And there's
Yes.
one where
Yes,
Asterix on Mars.
That's great fun. Yes.
That was good.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we need to wrap up because we have to have our Christmas lunch. And sadly, that's where we must leave things. Many thanks to Robert and Louie for joining us for this midwinter celebration of all things Asterix, and to our producer Nikki Birch for letting us carry her around the studio on a shield. We're going to stay here and feast on a banquet of roast boar with all the trimmings, a few flagons of ale, and perhaps even a Christmas song or two from our bard, Mariah Kerricks.
Very good.
And if you want show notes with clips, links, and suggestions for further reading for this episode and the previous 254,
Lord.
I know, please visit our website at backlisted.fm. If you want to buy the books discussed on this or any of our other shows, visit our shop at bookshop.org and choose Backlisted as your bookshop. And a huge thank you to our patrons. We couldn't do this without you.
Here, here. I'd just like to add, looking down the camera lens right at you with an almost disturbing intensity, that we are really grateful for your support this year, particularly this year, and the year before that, and the 8 years before that, but especially in 2025. Thanks for sticking with us this year. I'm looking right at you. I don't do sincerity very well, but look, I'm doing it right now. Thank you so much.
But before we go, Louis, is there anything you'd like to add about Goscinny and Uderzo or Asterix that we didn't get to in the show?
Because you were asking me earlier about what was, how does it last? How does it kind of work today? And I was thinking, what a lovely story about friendship it is. I'm going to be sincere now. It's actually very touching because they fight, they make up. It's a relationship between these two men, and that's a beautiful thing.
That's nice.
Mm.
Isn't that nice?
It's Christmas.
Oh, that's nice. Well, Robert,
Yes.
do you have anything to add
I do.
about Bran I Rosenes Ilia, Fire in the Rosy Camp, as this book is called in Norway?
Is that what it's called in Norway?
Fire in the Rosy Camp.
Mhm.
I just
Brilliant.
wanted to say quickly, that it's hard when you realise that there's something in your life which has given you just so much unadulterated joy. But I did want to quickly tell people, for example, my wife will never read Asterix. She doesn't want to read comic books. She has always said no. But I still maintain that the best thing that Goscinny did, the wittiest thing Goscinny did, is actually prose. So I'm going to just quickly hold this up. He wrote a series of books about this kid called Nicholas, and illustrated by a chap called Sompe. And it's like Adrian Mole at the time. They're written from the point of view of this little schoolboy
Wonderful.
who just reacts to the adult world around him, and they have a vaguely satirical edge to them. They're just a bit like Asterix in as much as all of his school friends scrap all the time, but in a very, very loving way. And they are heartbreakingly gorgeous short stories. And I would recommend, if you just think, if you're unconvinced by the comic book, try Nicholas and the Gang and the various books which come out of those.
Do you like
They are
Asterix?
gorgeous.
Do you like peanuts? Then you will love the Nicholas books.
Yes, they
They're
are.
wonderful.
They are great, aren't they?
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, listen. Thanks very much, everyone. This has been fun. Look, we can get into those mince pies now.
can, yeah.
All right, Una, is there anything you would like to add before we all say Merry Christmas?
Oh, just Merry Christmas.
Just Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas,
Merry
Christmas,
Christmas.
everybody.
Merry
See you
Christmas.
next time.
Ave.
Bye-bye, Ave.
No, Ave, the opposite
What's
of
the other?
Ave.
Vale.
Vale.
Vale.